Alrighty. What's going on, bud? My name is AJ. I am the friendly Hermit. But you know that. You're my drinking buddy. I'm your drinking buddy. Cheers. We've got our official, unofficial beverage / palate cleanser of the channel already going. And it's another beautiful day when the puppies and the piggies are out for free, no OF account necessary. And for the ladies, we got one more button undone just for you. For the ladies and for whoever else. We're talking diversity here today. Diversity. And I'm nervous to talk about this because I have a hot take here. And the reason I wanted to talk about it, my drinking buddy, is because coincidentally, it's been a long time since I've read Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. Believe it or not, of all of the books, I've actually read Silmarillion the most, which is really funny. And, you know, people that know me know how much I love the Lord of the Rings, but they don't know this about me. I haven't actually finished all three in the series, reading them, which is crazy, which is really crazy. So I thought it would be, you know, it's time, and I'm doing this for myself because, you know, you guys have been following. We've been having some drinks. You know a little bit about me. I'm trying to reclaim a part of myself, and reading is one of those things, but fantasy in particular, as a genre, has defined me my entire life. It's very dear to my heart. It's my favorite genre. In fact, I almost exclusively, everything I do is fantasy, like grounded in fantasy in some way, right? Even in, you know, science fiction, I would say, is like a close second. I do enjoy a good science fiction story, but typically I prefer the science fiction that incorporate fantastical elements, such as like the Force, for instance. But that's neither here nor there. The reason I wanted to talk about diversity today, and I'm about to burp, I can feel it. That one was like a weird one. Sorry, that was embarrassing. I'm not sorry. I'm never sorry for burping. I'm going to set this aside, though. And I'm very excited to read today. That's why I came out here. I'm still burping. The reason I wanted to talk about diversity, particularly in regards to Lord of the Rings, and it's purely coincidence that I started reading Lord of the Rings again, and then I see in the news Andy Serkis is directing The Hunt for Gollum, right? A lot of you probably already know this. And he was recently interviewed and said some things that were, at least at surface value. I have not seen the interview. I want to make that clear. So I'm not going to make any direct accusations, but I've seen clips of the interview that were, in my mind, suspiciously cut exactly where whoever was talking about it wanted you to stop listening to what he was saying. That's a side note, you know, me being a little conspiratorial, but the things I did see in that interview were, you know, a little, and by a little I mean they were pretty, like, the term that's getting thrown around is that they are racist dog whistles, and they very well may be. But I have a hot take on all of this, because at face value, what he said, of course, is harmful, and is, of course, as many, I guarantee there's somebody watching this now, assuming anyone watches this at all. There are going to be a lot of you that are going to, there's going to be two sides here. There always is, of course, right? The left and the right, always fighting, always fighting, always fighting. There's going to be you on the right, and you're going to say you agreed with what Andy Serkis said in that. I think he was talking about the Shire in particular, but basically said the Shire is predominantly white, and he's talking about Tolkien's what do you say, his we're trying to recreate Tolkien's vision, right? And he's speaking for Tolkien, but of course Tolkien's not here to speak for himself, right? So there's going to be people on the right saying we need to get rid of diversity, we need to go back to into white culture, this and that, right? This was for England, and this was for it's a white world, yada yada yada. And there's going to be people on the left saying that Andy is a racist. Again, this is a racist dog whistle. He's calling out to his fellow KKK members. You're going to have extremes on both sides. My hot take is more of I'm trying to be as rational and centrist as possible, but really it's coming from a place of being a fantasy. As I said, my entire life is grounded in this genre. It is my love. It is my inspiration. It is my my future. Like, it's what I want. As an author of a fantastical world, of a fantasy novel, I'm still working on it. Technically, I've stopped working on it because of my life. You may know from previous episodes, but again, neither here nor there. The point I'm trying to make is I have a hot take that is, I think, somewhat more constructive, that requires a large amount of context, and to see kind of why we have the left and the right both kind of arguing about this like racist man that said the racist dog whistles and yada 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 yada. And again, I'm using air quotes here because I did not see the full interview, and I don't have a strong I don't have a strong sense that this man is going to don a white pointy hat and robe and burn a cross on somebody's front yard, Like, I don't get that from him. And we're going to even dig into maybe some of the etymology, or maybe not the etymology. We will talk about that slightly for the sake of this because it's relevant. But the diminishing of the word's power, the word racism or racist in particular, the diminishing of it by its overuse. And this is the hot take ultimately, is that diversity is not necessarily a strength. Diversity is not necessarily a strength. Because people on the left want to say, we are stronger because we are diverse. That's just a statement, That's we are stronger because I don't know what. We all eat pizza. We all don't eat pizza. We are stronger because we all eat different foods. We all, fill in the blank. You can make anything up. That's what that statement is. Out of the gate, it is just a statement. I want to see evidence, because straight out the gate, I can say, well, what if we don't speak the same language? Communication is strength. Cooperation is strength. If I can't cooperate effectively, if I can't communicate effectively, how is that a strength? We are weaker as a group, a tribe, if we cannot work together. We together are the strength, is more appropriate to say. Humans cooperating and communicating effectively is the strength. So that's what that is trying to actually say. So just saying diversity is strength is an incorrect, or rather a miss. It's not the full story. It's like a lofty goal, a higher, like, kind of this ideal that we can strive toward. Yes, but it does not actually mean anything. It's just a goal, more or less. And it's a good goal. Let me just say that. Diversity is a good goal. You could say that, and it's a true statement. To say it's a strength means nothing. There's no like, in what way? In what way? You could argue in genetics. Okay. Yes, sure. Don't breed with your direct relatives, I guess, Yes. So in that way, sure, but that's not what you mean, right? You mean having all peoples of all colors, of all genders, of all shapes, of all sizes coming together, and not even working necessarily together, but just existing in the same space is strength. But that doesn't tell the whole story. So first and foremost, diversity is not necessarily strength. That's a lofty goal, a good goal, but it doesn't actually mean anything. It's just you and your people aspiring to some greater, higher purpose, right? So that's point number one. Andy is talking about the Shire as being predominantly white. This is also false. This is not a true statement. It is well documented, This is what I think is what Andy is speaking to. Again, he's speaking for Tolkien in his statement, which is, don't do that. You don't know what Tolkien thought. You've literally never met him. But he's speaking to, in my mind, Peter Jackson's film trilogy. And he's somehow pretending that they're the same thing. Tolkien's work and Peter Jackson's work he's conflating the two together as if they are one. And I don't think it's intentional, but I think he is. And Peter Jackson's work, say what you will, people love these movies regardless. There is a lack of diversity, right? And it is not to Tolkien's vision, like, it's not. It's just straight up not. We know for a fact, just by reading, about, again, I read the Silmarillion more than I read anything else. If we go into the lore, and we're talking about race, particularly about race. So don't worry about gender for now. Don't worry about, whatever. We're not talking about sex. We're not talking about gender. We're talking about race in particular here in the context of this video. Tolkien describes even Sam as having brown skin. I'm not going to go too deeply into this because this argument has been made 1,000 times on the internet. Yeah, Sam is brown. He's a direct descendant, I believe, of Harfoots. And that is a kind of origin species, a race of hobbits before they were even called hobbits. You can watch The Rings of Power on, I won't even say where it is. You can look it up. I don't like that company, so I don't want to say their name. But yeah, so the Harfoots are a kind of like precursor to the Hobbit race as it is known in contemporary Arda, right, in the Middle Earth. And so we know, even amongst the hobbits, there were different non-white, like they're not white, like some of them are not white. They settle in the Shire. Andy says, well, no one comes to the Shire. Again, this is something that's been largely discussed online. I'm not going to add too much, except to say, again, incorrect. Elves are frequently passing. It's in the movie, man. Like they take away a lot from the books. I'm actually just passing through that section right now. Just before we meet Farmer Maggot, we meet the elves in, oh, I don't remember specifically. Let's see. Give me 1 second. Gildor. There he is. Gildor, I am Gildor, answered their leader, the elf who had first hailed him, Gildor Inglorian of the House of Finrod, who goes back to the creation of the rings in the first place, if I'm not, or maybe the Silmarils, even as far as I remember. I could be entirely wrong. Please correct me in the comments, but we are exiles, and most of our kindred have long ago departed, and we too are now only tarrying a while ere we return over the great sea. So obviously, also headed towards Valinor to cross over. So, how did I forget his name already? Gildor Inglorian. Gildor. I got to say it 1,000 times in my head. So, I want to make this clear. When we're talking about race in a fantasy setting, we're not being so specific. So here's the difference between reality and in reality, there's racial tensions are obviously very high, as they always have been. Particularly today, we see kind of this resurgence of racial, genuine racism, right? Like that word, as much as it might be overused and therefore diminished in its power, that word is not incorrect in describing some things that are happening in today's world right now. But race as we know race, we are human. You watching, I guarantee you're a human. I guarantee it. You could be anywhere on this planet. You are human. You're not a lizard. You're not a dinosaur. You're not an elf. You're not a dwarf. You're not a hobbit. You're not dragonborn. You're human. I guarantee it. You and I are human. Race in real context, in the real world here, is what? That's it. You know? Where were you born and what do you look like? Doesn't make a difference outside of that, right? However, in a fantasy setting, what is race? Is it this? Sometimes. Is it, do I have pointy ears? Do I have a long beard and live in the mountains? Sometimes. Race in fantasy settings refers to many things. And so we cannot pretend that they are the same. They're not the same. They have similar aspects, but they're not the same. And this is why I believe diversity in writing for the sake of diversity. Diversity for diversity's sake is not a strength because it's inevitably removing the pedagogical component, the opportunity to teach the reader about race. If you just say, people of all kinds, sure, all skins, all sizes, all genders, all sexes, all pointy ears, long beards, this and that, right? Elves, dwarves, yada, 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 everywhere, no matter what, no matter what. As think about, first of all, how unrealistic that is. Take me, I'm meant to set aside my disbelief, right? If I'm going to read a story, I need to believe in the story in the context, within the context of the story, right? Everywhere I go in this world is this social, racial utopia where everyone is everything and everyone is happy and everyone gets along. Okay. Why though? Is there a history here? Is there a lore behind this? Diversity in a story like Lord of the Rings, any fantasy, pick any fantasy. Diversity requires a reason. Anything requires a reason. Don't just write anything for the sake of anything. If you just say, well, I don't want to be a racist and therefore everyone was everything, all times, all days, everywhere on the planet. First of all, that's doesn't make any sense. How did that happen? Unless that's the story, unless that's a part of the story, a part of the narrative, a part of the lore, the history. Okay, tell me how, tell me why. There's something to pick apart there, something that might be worth. In fact, now I'm curious, how the hell did they do it, and why can't we? There is perchance a, I don't want to say perchance, there might be a lesson there. There might be valuable pedagogy there. But that's not Lord of the Rings. And that's not this next example. Again, this company I don't want to name. I believe it was on their service, their streaming service. Same streaming service, by the way. Let me just double check that I have enough time to keep talking. I'm going to stop. I'm going to keep talking, but I'm going to cut here. We're going to do another cut because I can only do half an hour at a time. I'm going to rant for a while. This is going to be a long one. Sorry, guys. So, this other series, Wheel of Time. I've read up to book 6. I burped. I would argue Wheel of Time is probably one of my favorite fantasy stories ever told. It's like if Lord of the Rings was larger in scale. It's almost too much. I don't even know how to describe it, except it's very, very dense. And, probably I've never read Game of Thrones, but I guarantee it's in that same vein where there is a larger kind of political world outside of the characters you're following in any given chapter, right? So Wheel of Time recently, past couple years, recently did someone tried to make it into a TV show, right? Again, I'm not going to say the name of the company that it's streaming on, but you can go and look it up, Wheel of Time, and it's all right. It's fine. But if you read the books, it's not fine, and it's not good. The books blow you away. The books, I can't put them down. They're amazing. And I don't say this often because generally speaking, even if I don't, like, obviously the book and the movie or the show are not going to be one-to-one. Usually I watch a thing and I go, well, I'm glad I did because I liked the book, the Harry Potter series. I watched the films up to like number 5 and yeah, it was fine. It's fine. It's good. It's fun to see. I don't care one way or another. Wheel of Time, I got through the first season and I genuinely said, I'm not going to return to this. I'm not going to watch the show. It's genuinely ruining the story for me. And it makes me sad for anyone that's watched the show before the books, because it's not even good watching for that matter. And one of the things that they just kind of do this to the pedagogical component, they just say throw it away because we don't want to be racists. We have to include all of these different races. In the books, this is true. So first of all, Robert Jordan is prolific. I don't know how this guy did what he did. The world is alive. It is breathing. It is massive. And talk about setting aside the disbelief. It's almost too much, you know? It's almost too much to even keep up with. The show has, in the very first village where we meet the main character, who is called Rand, there's a bunch. Nineve is another one. You know, it doesn't matter. You can look it up. Matt, go look it up. It's great. The books are amazing. Go pick up the books. Don't watch the show. The show is trash. But in the story, in the books, the Two Rivers is the name, I believe, of the village that they begin their entire. So book one, we start in the Two Rivers. Think the Shire, right? Think the Shire. But the Two Rivers is an old village, very rural. So much so, in fact, the people that live there don't even know that they are a part of the king. They are technically, the land is owned by the king. They may know that a king exists, but they have never, like, in terms of politics, in terms of taxing them, they are so far removed from the actual society of the world, of the kingdom, that they genuinely had no idea. Yeah, their village is technically a part of this larger kingdom. That's a thing. That's like just the everyday thinking of the everyday, the farmers, you know, whatever they are. I think a lot of them are just farmers. They're peasants, right? They're just going about their daily lives. In no way is this place described as diverse. Quite the opposite. It is a homogenous, just like nothing, nowhere town. And the show depicts it as this glorious, idealistic, beautiful place full of diversity. So right out the gate, I just don't get it. Why? You're robbing us of the opportunity to learn along with these rural hillbillies who they're forced to leave and enter the larger world and learn about diversity. You've robbed us of that opportunity to learn along with them that, hey, we're not the only people in the world, because the world is extremely vast and diverse. The location doesn't need to be. Diversity for diversity's sake is taking and robbing the reader or the viewer of the opportunity to learn along with the characters, to grow with them. Hey, your world is not the world. You're you in a small little blanket. You're curled up. But outside of that, outside of your comfort zone, the first place they go, they meet, you know, I'm not going to spoil too much. They meet the princess and the princes. You know, they meet everybody. But that first city, suddenly, oh my God, everything is colorful now. That makes sense because it's a hub for like global trade and for mercantile. What do you say? You know what I'm saying, right? Everyone goes to this kingdom, to this castle town, to trade and to like there's school and there's whatever, you know, you name it, right? Events are happening here. They learn about the larger world through their adventures. We learn about it with them. The show says you don't need to learn a lesson. You already need to know it. And if you don't know it, well, you're a racist. Anyone that said anything online gets destroyed, right? Oh, the fact that these characters aren't It's not an all-white cast, People, this is a common criticism today about lots of different things. For instance, Rings of Power, they have a black elf. People lose their minds. That's, first of all, crazy. Relax, But secondly, this is the problem. You're taking away my chance. I don't care. This is the thing. Diversity, for the sake of diversity, is the problem. But if the two rivers, as a homogenous, ancient, old place that hasn't been contacted by the outside world in forever, once a year, a merchant shows up and tells them stories from outside of the two rivers. That's like the extent of their knowledge of the outside world, right? So if you said that entire cast of characters, that entire village was one race, let's say they're all brown, who cares? All black, who cares? Perfect. Why do they don't have to be white, but they should have been homogenous so that the journey was a learning experience, in my personal opinion. Now, I want to talk about another example. Why we need to have lessons. We have to be intentional with our words and with our, when we're specifically talking about race in a fantasy setting. One example I always think about is the High Elves of Elder Scrolls. Have you played Skyrim? A lot of people probably have played Skyrim. I am a Morrowind fan. Personally, Morrowind is one of my favorite games of all time, but it's certainly easily my favorite Elder Scrolls game. And this is where I was personally introduced to the High Elves, or as they are more, I suppose their more accurate name is the Altmer. We're talking about race. Elves in this world have different races, skin color wise as well. But we have the Dunmer, the dark elves, literally dark skinned elves, who predominantly live in Morrowind. This is their homeland. And the Altmer, the high elves of Somerset Isle, who are golden skinned, fair. Furthermore, they are taller than any other race in the game. And this is an important storytelling component. Not all high elves are taller, but generally speaking, high elves are taller than the other races, right? So let me just read this real quick. High elves, also known as Altmer, are the tall, golden-skinned Elder Scrolls Altmer inhabitants, the elves. Altmer inhabitants of the Somerset Isle, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so I already read that. Renowned as the most gifted and intelligent magic users in Tamriel lore. Already, we're getting, they're the smartest ones. Already? That's a weird thing to say. That's almost offensive, right? The most gifted and intelligent magic users. Altmer possess a fierce devotion to preserving their racial purity and the traditions of their ancient ancestors. Fascinating, right? Fascinating, because that's wholly offensive, isn't it? It's meant to be. They're taller than you. What do tall people physically have to do to talk to you? Look down at you. They are constantly, literally, physically looking down at the other races. They want to preserve their purity as a species. There is a pedagogical lesson here in the race, in its physicality. It's trying to teach you something. It's trying to teach you about racial supremacy, quote unquote, and why it's probably not a good thing, right? They're the most intelligent. All of them? Every single one is more intelligent than every other race? No, of course not. Not literally, but they believe it. It's trying to teach you about racism in real life by removing that component. Imagine Elder Scrolls just had this homogenous, everywhere is everything and everyone is fine and happy and holding hands and singing songs, rainbows and sunshine. So there's nothing to learn from this. I don't have to feel uncomfortable for a second and feel the need to ask, why is this person smarter than me by words? Prove it. We are, somewhat ironically, I guess. Listen, it's a very complex issue. Race in fantasy, in media that we consume, so movies, video games, but in fantasy generally, as a reflection of the real world. Somewhat ironically, it's not so. This issue with Andy Serkis being a racist, right? The issue is not so black and white. There's the irony, right? It's not so black and white. It's more nuanced than that in a larger context. And I think what we're doing here that hurts the left, we throw out the racism, sexist, racist, transphobe, homophobe. We throw out these words with reckless, what's the term? With reckless whatever, right? We use them so often that people now on the right, oh, that sucks. That's loud and obnoxious. People on the right, they're becoming more of the things that we're calling them because they don't care, because it's annoying to hear it all the time. And it's not true. Like, I can install a tap in my kitchen. I can, with the wrench, I can get under the sink. I can install the entire sink, the new sink. I can, hook up the whatever, right? I can do a plumber's job. I'm not a plumber. In the same way, I can say something racist. Andy Serkis can dog whistle the racists, right? That doesn't necessarily mean he's a racist. I think really what happened is he's just stupid and talking, and he has an idea of what the world is based on Peter Jackson's films when he was Gollum many, many moons ago. He's also probably conceited, being that he's the one in charge now, and he's so utterly famous. Money changes people. Fame changes people, right? Makes them do and say things that are obnoxious, frankly incorrect. It's just a sad reality that calling something out can be harmful to the broader cause. And I'm a leftist. I don't want to see people hurt or harmed. And I want to share the love of, like, Lord of the Rings particularly. I want to share in that with everybody. But I also think, I don't know, man. Diversity needs a purpose. Diversity needs a purpose. It is not inherently a strength. It is a pedagogical tool in writing, in media, as we consume it. It can make something stronger. The High Elves, just reading what they are is offensive. Good. Feel that in your heart, because now you know, or at least you have an idea of where you want to be or who you want to be. I don't want to be like that. Pedagogy, baby, it's powerful. We need this. We need to learn. We need to learn. When we name things incorrectly, the word that we're using, the name that we are using is weakened inevitably. It is frankly embarrassing on the left. We're embarrassing ourselves, right? Until I see Andy burning crosses on people's lawns, to call him a racist is stupid. It's stupid. Don't be a fool. You can say something stupid, mean, racist, sexist. That doesn't mean that's who you are fundamentally. Grow the fuck up. We all make mistakes. I don't know who he is as a person. He might be a racist. I don't know. Just like he doesn't actually know what Tolkien had in mind. He doesn't know Tolkien's vision. He clearly didn't do his research, you know? It's silly. You don't know his heart. You can only say things that will get you clicks online, right? Probably this video has a clickbaity, title. It is not so black and white. The problems are much larger. Race, gender, sex, in the real world versus how they are portrayed in fantastical settings, books, movies. Let authors tell their stories. Follow the pedagogy. And think about what you're consuming. Do you know what I mean? Like, consider the words. Consider the actions and the choices. Is there a reason for it? If you're feeling a certain way, why? I feel like this, whatever the hell's going on over there, I feel like we're done chatting. We got to just do the review at this point. But I talked a lot. Listen, please feel free to educate me or disagree in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts about this. And frankly, I don't want to dog whistle. If you think I'm dog whistling, explain to me why. Be specific. Because I am not a right-wing. I'm not a right-wing person at all. I'm as left as old communist hippie can get, my friend. I just also try to be rational. I try to look at things from like we're losing something. The pedagogy is important because if we're not learning, if we're not teaching, we can't just pretend all is well all the time. There has to be a purpose. There has to be a reason. Geography, history, politics, socio-economic conditions. How do these change the people in the places? Everything matters. And a good writer goes to extreme lengths to dot those T's and cross those I's. We'll switch those. Anyway, we got a beer. Should we review beer, I guess? I think I'm supposed to. I'm your drinking buddy. Dinker and Sinker. I'm looking forward to Hunt for Gollum. I hope it doesn't get buried in... Like this is the what's her name? J.K. Rowling, this whole stupid thing all over again. Shut up. Just shut up, Andy. Shut up, J.K. Why are you talking? Just shut up and write. I know that's really mean to say, but like the second you open your mouths, you ruined everything. I liked your stuff, and now I have to be like, fuck. Like, I don't want to support you if that's the way you're going to talk, you know? Like, shut up. Just keep it to yourself. Keep it in your stupid little heart. Again, I'm not calling you racist. I don't even think J.K. Rowling is. I mean, she's made it worse for herself over the years, but like as a transphobe, man, like just shut up. You had everything. You're a millionaire. What, a billionaire maybe? I don't know. You didn't have to say shit. Shut up. Stop talking. Just make your art and shut up. Let's review a beer. But I don't think I've reviewed. This is a fun one, but also a sad one for me in particular. But I'm going to get right up in for a Jacob Jones style thumbnail. I don't know. I don't know what to do. But this one, blue, Labatt Blue. The English side says quality brewing since 1847. John Labatt is, of course, our. We got the signature here. He is our brewer, I assume, back in the day. We got the Canada leaf, maple leaf up here, with a little bit of. I don't know if you can see here. It's probably blurry in the screen, and it's the lighting isn't so great. Sorry, but we have a little wheat sprig. This is a 473 milliliter, 5% alcohol per volume beer. I'm going to assume it's a lager. Don't drink and drive. Very typical stuff here. Labatt Brewing Company, Preston, Edmonton, Montreal, Halifax, St. John's, Canada. There's a phone number, yada, yada, yada. It's exactly what you expect. Contains barley. There's a barcode. Nothing particularly special about this can, but I chose it because it's a color. That's the loose connection. The loose connection to this video. I know I ranted for a long time, so we're not going to do an extensive review of this particular beer, but I've got history with it. And I don't want to get into that history too deeply because it's sad, as I said. This particular beer was the beer of choice of an old friend who unfortunately is no longer a friend. His father drank this beer exclusively. He was an alcoholic, and he passed away likely due to complications, health complications, likely surrounding his alcoholism. Again, I don't want to get into too many details about that. So this beer, yeah, it's blue. Can is blue. It's a color. Blue is a color. We were talking about race. That was my connection, and my sad connection to it. My also kind of relevant, you know. Everything I said. Is there a pedagogical lesson? Well, be careful, you know. Be careful how much alcohol you're consuming. Diversity is not necessarily strength. But if you are only consuming one specific thing all day, every day, I mean, it's not good for you, at the very least. That's my simple connection. Sad connection, but yeah, that's why I chose this beer. How is it? I've had this many a time. It's a light lager, but 5%. It's actually a good beer. I do enjoy it, and I find that because it's inexpensive. It might even be cheaper than Pabst, honestly. I find that it does typically end up as a favorite for alcoholics. So, that all said, Dinker, we're about to drink her. Here's the sound of heaven. Ready? It was very unenthusiastic sound of heaven there, but instantly getting pure liquid. Not surprising at all. This is not a creamy or thick lager. Doesn't even really have a smell. Carbonation, the bubbles seem larger, which is pretty typical. What I'm used to. So, cheers, friends. This one is hard to pinpoint. It's more liquid than anything else. There's no sweetness, there's no bitter. It is balanced and it is light. I would not say it is as light as some other things I've had. Wheat, barley, but again, very light. It's a refreshing beverage. I understand why people will lean into this as their go-to, not just because of how inexpensive it is, but also because of the lightness and the flavor. It's beer. This is a beer, and it's very good. If I have no option to get Pabst, this is my second choice. I will lean into the blue. Because it's so inconsequential. It's an easy sipper. Again, not flavorless, but so unoffensive, so not like you don't think about this when you're drinking it, you know? And that's literally all I can say about it. We don't need to get into too many details here because the video is already going to be pushing an hour, which this will be the longest video I think we've ever done. Which is really funny. I was obviously passionate about the topic today. I really hope I didn't offend anybody, and I hope you took my words in their whole rather than like cherry picking. And feel free again to tear me up in the comments. Let me know if something I said didn't make sense. Ask questions. Feel free to. Maybe I wasn't specific because I know it was a big topic and I was all over the place. So feel free to, ask clarifying questions or ask whatever, or again, tear me up because I don't want to come off as, somebody that's here to harm the cause. Quite the opposite. Again, old hippie here, very far leftist. We don't have a leftist party here in Canada. It sucks. I wish I could be like prime minister because I would just take everything we're doing and go left, 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 We got a puppy. We got a nice puppy. That's a good boy. He's going to come say hi, isn't he? No, he's not. You might see him walking by. What do I say about this beer? This beer is boring in a good way. Sometimes boring is like the good thing, the right thing. That's what this is. I genuinely do give this a high rating. I know a lot of people probably won't because they want more, but that's exactly why I give it the higher rating, because I don't want more. And 5%, this is a standard. This is literally the standard beer. It's ice cold as well, if that, matters. I'm sure it does. But yeah, if I had to put a flavor to it, it's more bitter and wheaty than anything else. But it's not bitter. It's just more bitter than not. And it's certainly not sweet. So, yeah, it's not a surprise then that this is my go-to if I don't have Pabst around. And for the price, you really can't beat it. So, again, there's not much more I can say about it. So, with all of that in mind, the 50-minute rant and the 5-minute review, we're going to call her. That's going to be it. We're going to give Labatt Blue. I think it's fair to give it an 8, in my opinion, honestly. It's just my opinion. All of this has been my opinion. Feel free to disagree, but I like that it's a nothing beer. I like that it's cold, refreshing, liquidy, watery. I like that it's light, but it still has that 5%, so it'll get you where you need to go. I burped. But yeah, I'll give it an 8. 8 out of 10. It's nothing exceptional, but for what it is and for the price, and if you're like me and you just want something easy to sip on, I keep hiccuping. This is definitely worth your time and certainly your money because it's the cheapest you can possibly get in my local area anyhow. Yeah, nothing remarkable to say. It's so nothing in the best way possible. All right, folks, my name is AJ. I am the Friendly Hermit. You're my buddy. I'm your drinking buddy. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me. Let me know in the comments all those things I asked. Don't forget to like this video if you did. And subscribe for more. I typically don't go this long, and I typically don't get this political-ish. This was a particularly, like I said, I was nervous making this video, and I'm sure I'm going to post this, and it's going to be... people are going to have some words, I'm sure, but we're going to probably post this video before. We're going to have to go back in time, because I still have so many to post. But I felt like this one was relevant for today because of the news cycle with Andy and the hunt for Gollum and how intimately connected I am to Lord of the Rings. I just wanted to talk about it. So, and this beer, unfortunately, I'm connected intimately to this beer as well in not so great ways. Yeah, I miss my friend. And I'm sorry that his dad. That's all. I love you. Thanks for hanging out. My drinking buddy. Dinker. Sinker. We'll see you in the next one, eh? I don't know why I did that. Ya-da-da-da-da-da, do-do-do-do. Do 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 do.